All right, next part we're going to talk about set builder notation, interval notation, and number lines to describe these following sets. So describe the set of all numbers, all real numbers, greater than -5. So let's first look at this on the number line. So the number line here is -5. We would have -4, -3, -2, and these numbers are infinite. And by the way, how many numbers actually exist? If we're talking about all numbers, the only numbers I wrote on here are integers. But how many numbers exist even just between -5 and -4 on the number line? An infinite number, because that would all be mixed numbers. Well, there's like fractions and there's decimals in there. There's even some irrational numbers on that number line. So all numbers greater than -5, if we graph that, I wouldn't include, because I'm not saying we're equal to, and I would shade above -5, and that arrow goes in what direction? Towards infinity. So my interval is from -5 to infinity. And I'm using parentheses because the numbers are not included. Why can't I put a bracket around infinity? Why wouldn't I include infinity? Yeah, because you can never get there. You can't ever include infinity because infinity is not a place, it's a concept. So we're putting parentheses. The parenthesis means the number is not included. So this right here is what we call interval notation. We talked about the number line before, and then we have this other concept of set builder notation. And a set builder notation is a little different than set notation. You would start with your set braces, and you would say x such that x is greater than -5. What this means is if I was going to build the set, this is literally the recipe for the set. You can have any number, and this line right here reads as such that, I was writing set or something, such that x is greater than -5. So that means I would have all numbers possible that are greater than -5. Okay? For the next one, describe the set of all real numbers that are less than or equal to -9. The first thing I would do is draw my number line so I can see it on the graph. Here is 9, 8, 7, 6. Okay? Less than or equal to, am I including 9? Yeah, and then I'm shading everything below 9. And that direction, that arrow is pointing in what direction? Towards where? -infinity, because it's going in a negative direction. So our interval comes from the graph. We start at -infinity. That's my start. Notice that I'm putting parentheses around -infinity because, again, I can't include -infinity. And then 9 is where I stop. And I'm going to put a bracket around 9. And what does the bracket around 9 mean? Yeah, 9 is included. Okay? And then my set builder notation would be set of x such that x is less than or equal to 9. So I have interval notation, set builder notation. Probably should write that down, huh? This is my number line, my interval notation, and my set builder notation. Okay. C, the set of all real numbers greater than or equal to 5, but less than 2. So again, if we draw that number line out, here down here is -5, -4, -3, okay, all the way up to 2. We want this to be greater than or equal to 5, so I'm going to put a bracket on 5. Greater than is this direction, and we want it to be less than 2, but not equal to. So we're shading all the numbers in between. And so here our interval is going to be -5 and stop at 2. And then our set builder x such that x is actually in between. We would have -5 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 2. You see how that is in between? Here's my interval. Here's my graph. And here's my set builder. Okay? Any questions on that so far? All right, let's express the set. The set of all real numbers greater than 5 and less than 0. So you could go ahead and try that one, and then let's talk about it. So greater than -5 and less than 0. Any thoughts about that? Set x. Yeah, x is in between -5 and less than 0. Yeah, -5 and less than 0 is my interval. Okay. Question 2, describe the graph using set builder notation. So who can tell me what the set builder notation would be? I would start with x such that, and again, x is the shaded area. Any number in between that area is in the set. So it's going to be less than or equal to -9, or -9, sorry, is less than or equal to x. And then what symbol would you use next to 7? Less than, right? X is in between, so -9 is less than or equal to x, which is in between less than 7. And then the interval literally comes from the graph. -9 is included, 7 is not, and we can see where it starts and where it stops. Okay? Describe the given graphs in interval notation. So interval notation, how would you describe this graph? Where does it start? -9, and we put a bracket around that because it's included. That comes from the graph. Where does it stop? Infinity. And do we include infinity? Never. Okay, look at this graph. Where does this graph start? -infinity is the smallest place. And where does it stop? And do we include -9? No, we put parenthesis around it. Okay. Here, this one is x is greater than or equal to -9. X is less than -9. If you wanted to use the inequality as well. Okay. This right here is the interval notation though. This was not being asked. This is the set builder notation. Set builder, just to differentiate between the two. Okay, set builder notation are these two. All right, go ahead and try